Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a movable swivel seat base for either your small boat or skiff. And I'll be doing this using EMT Conduit as well as maker pipe connectors. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. These are the parts I'm going to be using in this project. This is 3/4 inch diameter EMT conduit, and I'll be cutting it to various lengths, which I will list in the narrative. And then I have these end caps that will go on the risers. And then also this boat seat swivel, and the seat's a little too big to show right now. And then I'm going to be using two different maker pipe connectors. This is a T connector, and this is a 90-degree connector. And then I'm also going to be using this 1-inch heat shrink tubing to put over the conduit in this project. So the frame is designed to drop over this center hatch section. Now the front part up here is going to be shorter than the opposite side of the rear, although both these sides will be the same length. So it's a trapezoidal shape. And that made it kind of hard to calculate stuff out, so I had to do a lot of hit or miss and shaving and cutting to get everything to fit, but I really like the way it turned out in the end. The next thing I did was take my seat swivel, after I marked out the center points on each one of my cross rods, place it on the rods where I want it, and then I'm going to mark and drill holes through the conduit so I can attach the swivel seat. Okay, so I made my marks where I'm going to drill here, 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 and here. And the main thing you want to do is make sure you drill straight through so you have a nice right angle to the conduit too. You can have a little bit of slop in there, but you want to make it as close as possible. This is a 3/4 view of the completed frame for the seat setup. And as you can see, looking at the front, on the bottom here, that stabilizer bar is going to be shorter than the stabilizing bar that's on the rear, which I will show you later. And that's because of the shape of the hatch. And then at each of the four corners here, I have a 90-degree maker pipe connector. And on each of these sides, they are the exact same design. And these are the risers, which are connected to another upper cross member using the maker pipe T connectors. And then the seat stabilizer bars are connected across each of the two sides using 4 of the T connectors. Now I'll go around and show you the back. This is a rear view of the frame. This is the lower stabilizer bar, which I said is longer than the front because of the shape of the hatch. Now, each of these sides, what that means is they're going to be angled a little bit out wider towards the rear than the front. But these connectors are able to pick up the slack, so it really doesn't make any difference and it doesn't cause any structural problems with this setup. And then it just gives you a different view of the structure support for the seat with the swivel there. I also wanted to show a side view so you could see how the connectors and the bars line up for this setup. Okay, so this is the finished frame, and you have some options here. You can either leave it unpainted like it is here, or you can go ahead and paint it, or you can also, which I'm going to do, is use the PVC shrink fit tubing over the conduit. And if you do that and you use these maker pipe connectors, there's something you're going to need to do. Because you're adding thickness to the conduit pipe, there are these little friction bands that are on the maker pipe connections. What you're going to need to do is you can just cut them off with a razor blade because they add a thickness to it and a gripping surface, and you're not going to need that when you use the PVC shrink fit over the conduit. I wanted to show a little more detail about these maker pipe connectors I'm using in this project. This is the T one here, and you've got this end that puzzle pieces together like so around one of the conduit that you want to connect, and it snaps on to another piece that you want to connect, and it's held together with this bolt. It also has these friction bands on each piece, which allows it to have a better grip on the conduit that you're putting together. But in this project, since I explained that I already have the shrink wrap going over my conduit, I needed to cut off these pieces of the friction tape, and this is what it looks like. And I'm going to give you a little helpful hint when you do that. Cut them off from the inside. That way, if you scratch the paint, it won't show on the outside of your project. And then using the 90 like I did in this project, I found it the easier way to go by taking your center riser or whichever piece is going to go through the center, to put that in first, then put in your other pieces of conduit at the right angles and tighten everything together. And it makes it much easier to make these connections. So how I'm going to do this is take each section of the frame apart one by one, slide it inside a piece of the pre-cut tubing that I have here, and go ahead and use this heat gun to make it fit tight on the conduit. And the reason it's oversized is because once I get it heated up and it starts to shrink, I'm going to tuck it in the ends to make sure it stays on and doesn't move. And it'll also protect the cutoff section from any rust or corrosion. This is the finished first piece, and it took a few minutes because there's a lot to shrink. And you can even see that it's tight enough where you can see the drill holes that I have for my seat, which is nice, which will make it easier to find again. And then this is what the end looks like when you wrap it inside, and go ahead and heat that up as well. So it's very nice and no maintenance. Now that the project is completed, I'm going to go ahead and show you how easy it is to install and remove this seat from the Skiff. To remove it, just lift the back to the front and lift off, and then the reverse, drop down the front, drop down the back, and as you can see, because of the way it's made, there's very little play and it's very secure. So that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments. Thank you.